Boom. Charade. Welcome.
Hi.
Dude, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem at all.
I assume it's cold over there?
No, it's really hot at the moment, actually. We're having a
So
heat
what,
wave.
it's like 18 degrees?
20 according to my computer at the moment, but it's been up in the 30s, so
Dude.
yeah, we're not built to cope with that here.
Yeah, so you're over in England, correct? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
20 degrees in Australia, it's like shorts, thongs, like it's crazy.
Yeah, well, our typical's like low middle 10s normally.
10.
If that.
Dude.
So yeah, so getting into 20 and beyond is considered barbecue weather.
Barbecue weather. My gosh. At 20 degrees, we're
Yeah.
like roast lamb, veggies. Let's go. You guys are like, let's have cold chicken and salad. Because it's
Pretty
hot.
much. Yeah.
Dude, it's been crazy. Like, the world's ending. All the CCs are leaving. Like, so, alright, so you were a CC and you left.
Yeah.
Would you like to just elaborate as to why? Put a PSA out there?
Yeah. Yeah, so I joined the CC program in January. I was invited by Wargaming. I didn't apply for it, just for clarity. But yeah, there's been a lot of things boiling under the surface for quite a while now. And I mean, I went into the program with the intention of it being a long-term relationship and wanting to work with them on various things and do my bit. And give my community the access to get the feedback up in the right channels and to the right places. But yeah, so there was a combination of factors. A big part of that was how feedback was handled and how certain people were spoken to in the weeks just before everything all kicked off. Obviously there was the Yukon situation and everything that happened with Mouse. And yeah, there was a certain collection of conversations that happened that I can't say too much about, but they weren't handled terribly well. And combined that with very legitimate concerns around loot boxes and kind of industry side stuff not being handled correctly in an appropriate manner. It felt like a kind of situation where I couldn't stand by it anymore, so I had to make a choice. And it's not an easy one to handle. There's no right answer in this kind of thing, so we're all having to make our decisions based on our situations and what we feel is best for us and our communities. But for me, I didn't want to be a billboard for a community, for a company that was doing some of the things they were doing. And I've said it before in my video that I'm open to discussion with them and I want to resolve it in a positive manner. But I kind of can't see it happening, unfortunately, which is a real shame. So I'm trying to be open minded and wait and see what they do, because it takes time to react and sort things out. But yeah, to get some separation from what was going on was really essential for me, I felt. And yeah, so hence the current state of affairs, really, and my intention to move away from warships long term if things carry on going down the road they are. Which is far from ideal, don't get me wrong, but I feel for me it's the right move from an ethical standpoint, and also just to get away from the drama and everything that's kind of unfolded and happened as it has.
Yeah, I mean it's a tremendously sad situation. I've said this on record going back probably the week it happened. It's tremendously sad for wargaming to be able to jade people like iChase and Flambas, people that fucking love their game, excuse my language. But like
That's okay.
but people that like are so passionate. It's so sad. And like I think the biggest mistake wargaming made was releasing that 6-lined not apology. Like honestly, if they'd gone radio quiet and just left it and then released that really comprehensive apology, I think things would have been way better.
The problem with that though is that even the more what you call comprehensive, it's full of fluff. Basically, it doesn't really address and sort out a lot of the issues that we have. as a group. Obviously, different people have different issues, but there are a few core issues that are at the root of a lot of people walking out. But yeah, it doesn't really sort it out. It's just kind of quelled it a little, you know. It doesn't resolve the underlying issues. It doesn't solve the way things were communicated or dealt with, or the lack of being dealt with. I honestly, I would have far more respect for wargaming if they just said, "Fuck it, we're going to do what we want to do," and balls to the community. I honestly, like, I would have far more respect if they just said that. I as much as I would disagree with them, at least they're being honest about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just said
But they're
everything
not.
will be behind a paywall.
I honestly, if they just wanted to say, "Hey, look, we're going to do loot boxes. We're going to do this the way we want to do. We don't want CC's feedback," or, you know, it doesn't matter what you say, we're going to override it with the spreadsheet. If they were just honest about that, then yeah, I'd have more respect for them. But they're not willing to. They use the community team to put up PR fluff out,
Mm-hmm.
and make statements that you know, we can actively disprove. Like, there's things they've said recently that don't tally up with what we were told as CCs behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you know, specifically, I'm going to reference the development cycle, and certain things they've said have been in development for a while. They haven't. So they've either lied then or they're lying now. And my bet's on they're lying now, just to keep things, you know, quiet.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I just, let's say, I need to go through everything that's come out more recently in like the last week or two. But from what I saw, it doesn't show any intent to change. And I can deal with no intent to change, just as long as they're honest about it. But we're not getting that, and even more reason to not engage with it. As much as, like I say, I want to have a conversation. You know, I could quite happily have a conversation with them, and then be like, okay, we've got a difference of opinion, walk away. You know, but at least like that discussion's been had. But they've not even reached out to CCs about what happened and trying to repair those relationships. That just hasn't happened at all. The only person they've spoken to my knowledge, is Mouse, and that was the NA team specifically talking to Mouse. Other people have chosen, to my knowledge, to engage with them, but they've gone to them, not the other way around, and that was on separate issues.
Now look, I'll be completely real. I wasn't there. I've only heard second-hand accounts, and I've said it before, and I just want to say it again before I get into it. If what I've heard happened to Little White Mouse happened, then it is absolutely abhorrent. Right? I wasn't there, so I can't say this did happen. Do you know what I mean? I can see that face. He's like, no, fuck you, dude. What are you talking about? It obviously happened. No, fucking idiot.
No. I mean, even I've got limits on what I know, because you know, you don't see all the conversations and the private stuff. But I know enough that, put it this way, I wouldn't walk out and that be part of the grounds if I didn't genuinely believe it happened and saw certain things.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to say, if what happened, look, it's fucking shit, and you know they need to be really held accountable. But it's really sad, because they have made a tremendous game, and like they're shooting themselves in the foot for short-term gain. Where if they kept their community happy and worked with the team and whatever, you know, they're effectively decapitating the golden goose. Like,
the thing is, though, it doesn't align with their strategy. That's the problem. Their strategy for a long time has been player acquisition over maintaining. That's inherently the issue. Why make good content and why keep your current customers happy when you can just pay for ads and acquire new ones? Well, when you've got people that will make content that will acquire you new customers that will get heavily invested and buy stuff. When you can be on multiple platforms and acquire new customers by that. When you can add an affiliate program in that will get you customers en masse. It's all about the acquisition. It's not about keeping you happy once you're here. It's a case of keeping you long enough that your wallet can be used, and then after that, it doesn't matter. That's effectively their strategy.
Well, I actually think that touches to the core issue of the thing. World of Warships is a, watch my fingers, free-to-play game, right? And the average lifespan of a free-to-play player is like 18 months, right? And then it rotates, right? So like 90% of your customers are gone after 18 months. And for wargaming to make money, they have to capitalize. Unfortunately so. I actually think this would be a lot more. This would go down better if it was you pay what $40-$50 to buy the game, and then
that's not going to happen.
No, it won't. It never.
No, they want the barrier to entry. I mean, this is the whole reason why free-to-play games do the way they do, because it's the lowest barrier to entry possible. You literally just need to click a button to install and you're off.
Yep.
And that makes it very accessible, which is great. But with that accessibility comes other problems. It's like, okay, now they've got to really aggressively find a way to get you invested financially in the game through the assets. And I can't prove it, but I bet my bottom dollar that wargaming probably has a higher conversion rate on getting people to pay stuff, because you cannot go into a match without seeing a premium of some description in there.
No,
it's impossible. And most free to play, I think like 1-2% is maybe like the conversion rate, if that, in a lot of free games. I reckon it's much higher in warships, because the thing is they're monetizing the thing that's so incredibly core to the game. You cannot exist in that game without the ships. Now granted, you've got all the free ones, but bear in mind there's a lot of historically significant ships and really interesting ships from a gameplay point of view, and they've got everything from a few quid up to nearly 100, sometimes plus if you're going for admiral packs. So there's stuff to suit different budgets, which again I don't blame them for, because that's savvy business. But I think they've got a much higher conversion rate when it comes to actually getting people even just to put a tenner in, or to buy a Steam bundle or whatever, So I don't think they're having trouble, if that makes sense, to convert people to make at least a single purchase. I don't think, and there is a section of the community that's completely 100% free to play, and it's good that people have the choice to play like that if they want to. It's difficult, because I get they got to monetize. They really, really do, because they're just not going to survive the server costs, wages, right? There's a lot that goes into it. Even keeping the bill, keeping the lights on, there's a lot to fork out for, but there's a crossing point, do you know what I mean? Where there's doing it in an ethical manner, where you're providing really good value to the customer and enhancing their gameplay experience, versus exploiting compulsion and other problems, and like I say, a potentially particularly vulnerable player base because of the demographics that engage with it. To upsell effectively, it's all about the upselling. They want you to buy the bundle, they want you to buy the Admiral pack, they want you to buy the anime collab that's going on that particular
oh my gosh
week, or I mean and some of it's very copy pasted. I mean, there's that anime skin set where it's like curved neon-y lights, right? But it's just in different shades, like pink, purple. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but you see, once they've made one, all they've got to do is palette swap it. Do you know what I mean? And then they've got like 12 or 14 of them or something ridiculous,
Yeah, I mean, here's my stance on this, right? Now, I'm going to personalize this. As a Twitch streamer, and so are you, guys, go check out Charede. She's fantastic. The subscriptions for Australians are like $9-$10, whatever, right? So I always aim to give my viewers $11 worth of value, right? Which, smart business practices, right? But what Wargaming have done, let's go back and look at a tier 9 battleship that is extremely prevalent and popular, the Georgia.
Yeah.
If you were to spend, I don't know how much it's worth over in England. Let's just say it's $100. Let's pretend like it is.
I can't remember, but yeah, I think it's about 54 quid for a tier 9 these days. But
do you feel like the Georgia is $100 ship? For me personally, absolutely. It's a fantastic ship.
I have it. I've had it for a long time. It's one of the first premiums I was given. In fact, I wasn't even given it. I won it in a giveaway on someone else's stream, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
That's how I got it. Yeah, I got it within like 2 months of playing the game.
Yeah,
it's my
that's
first
fantastic.
tier 9. I really love the ship. I
Yeah.
genuinely do. It's one of the ones I've put a lot of time into playing. It took me a little while to play it because I was frightened of touching tier 9s for so long. And to be honest, I should be, because I get absolutely decked when I go into that tier and above. But as a ship, it's great. I really enjoy it. I love the way it looks. I love the way it plays. It suits me down to the ground.
It's worth $100, right?
The thing is, though, I guess in a lot of ways, the thing is, though, I'm very budget conscious because I don't make a huge amount of money. So for me, spending that amount of money on a ship is really a no-go for me personally because of my circumstances. It's not necessarily because of a value issue. It's just because of a personal circumstance issue. If that makes sense. The other problem as well is, like, I had that ship and I got the chance to play it to make that value assessment. If anybody else is going in to buy a ship, they can't really do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? This is one of the reasons I absolutely hate the fact that you can buy a ship and then absolutely hate it. And Wargaming's refund policy is basically if you've played it, it's used. You can't refund it.
What does that even mean? Used. You used a bunch of pixels.
Refund. Well, basically, part of the issue. Basically, the issue is when you buy a ship, you've put like stuff on it, right? You've then gone and played it. You've then got credit earnings off the back of that. Because you've got credit earnings and stats on your profile for it, effectively it's used and it's benefited you in some way. And that's effectively the grounds on which not to refund you for the ships. Yeah. Because it would involve rolling back your account and they can do all this. Like heck, I accidentally bought a ship because I was grinding it for free and then accidentally bought it for coal because I was not paying attention on stream one time. Yeah, thankfully in all fairness to customer support, they sorted it out and it was sorted within a couple of hours, so they were like good on that one. But because that was a complete accident. But yeah, had I played it, I'd have been in a different boat, I'd imagine. But yeah, effectively, you got to remember as well. Every time you contact customer support, every time you ask for a refund, it costs them money as a business, especially, this is another reason why there's a lot of incentive for them to like put dubs into your account rather than giving you actual money. Yeah. So, for example, if a gift bounces, it will come back to your account, but it'll come back into your account in dubs. Oh, so really? Effectively, the money is still tied to the game. The spend has still happened, but it means that they don't get charged for chargebacks, PayPal fees and all that stuff. So it makes sense because chargebacks are notoriously bad for games, and a lot of other businesses too. So if you can find a way to limit that, even if it's like a 1 or 2 in 100 transactions that do that, like over a year, do you know what I mean? That saves a lot. It saves a lot of issues. So, like I say, the bouncing of gifts into the original person's account as dubs currency instead, or putting some sort of heavy restriction in place that means you can't refund. It safeguards against this problem effectively. So I can see why they do it. But the downside is, as a customer, if you buy a ship and then you absolutely loathe it, that's your money pissed into the wind effectively. Yeah. And you can't get it back. I would really love for them to do like a test rental that you can buy either for just in-game currency or even like a small number of dubs, like 200, 300, 400 dubs, and you get it for like a week or a month or something, and then you buy it. Apparently they've already done this in the past and they showed that it didn't result in sales, but I wasn't around if that did actually happen or not. It might also highlight to people, if someone's like read a review or they don't have access to reviews for whatever reason, it might put them off. Do you know what I mean? They have one bad game in a ship that they want to test out, road test, and then they're like, no, this isn't actually as good as it was all hyped up to be. So it could de-incentivize sales, and I imagine that's probably what's happened. Is you've got the people that will whale it for every single ship, and road testing maybe made them more savvy with their purchases. I'm not quite sure, but you know what I mean? There's obviously something stopping that from being a thing because it's been asked for multiple times. So I personally would prefer that, because as somebody, especially, it's a bit more like frugal and careful with what they get from the game because of personal situation limitations. I like to know what I'm getting, what I'm paying for.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't get me wrong, you can buy a Steam game or you can buy a DLC and it can be really broken, but at least I know I've got a 2-hour window to road test it,
Yeah.
and I kind of would prefer it if Wargaming changed it. So like if I did buy it, I've got like 7 days to refund it if it's a problem, but I'll still keep the stats. The problem is though, you could see a lot of people like buying ships, then using them for like clan battles or something, padding their stats or something because they know a particular ship is strong and then refunding it maybe.
Yeah.
I could see how it'd be a problem, There's no simple solution really. Other than maybe like put a cap on it, like you can only do X amount every 6 months or something. Do you know what I mean? Just to try and de-incentivize it or something. But for something that costly, it's effectively, especially when you get to those higher tiers, you're talking the cost of a game, if not more.
Exactly.
And that's a lot for effectively. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work that goes into making a ship. You've got all the animations, the textures, the actual model, it's itself in terms of how it's put together and its framework and everything. There's a lot to it. Do you know what I mean? Then you've got all the sounds and the art and and then there's all the testing as to how it interacts with the rest of the game and the research and finding the blueprints. There's a historical, there's a lot to it, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it's just very, very costly, and especially when they're bringing out like multiple ships in quick succession, right? And it's not just premiums now, right? It's also the early access stuff, right? They found this is what really irks me about the early access stuff. Is like, okay, I understand why early access exists in normal games, but typically you get a discounted rate. They have some sort of roadmap. Not all games fulfill on it. Granted, you are taking a risk, right? It's treated like a Kickstarter, effectively, right? When you go into a game with early access, because you just don't know where the direction of it's going to go, and it could end up being horrible, right? But with World of Warships, they're taking a core element of the game that is the core free component of the game, aka the tech tree ships, and they're finding a way to monetize that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what was previously free update content is now paid for content.
Well, I'd actually like to push back on that.
Okay, go on then.
Tech tree ships were always monetized. What do you think free XP, converting doubloons to free XP is?
Yeah, but how many people do you think actually do that?
I know a lot of people that do that. I'm one of those people that do
in
that.
my experience, nobody does it because it's ridiculously expensive.
Oh, it's tremendously expensive. But the thing is, right, it's still a thing. I mean, you can get super lucky with these free early access bundle things, and you can get the Johan de Witt on your first bundle. Fantastic. Huzzah. Who wouldn't spend 1,500 doubloons, right?
I personally wouldn't.
Really?
No, for early access, no. No.
Wow.
No.
You've got incredible self-control.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the problem, right? The reason they do it in these bundles is because it pushes your self-control.
Yeah.
It's very hard for people that are impulsive, people that can't wait, people that have time limitations. This is why it's structured the way it's structured. It's to push your buttons. It's done that way because what was free content is then more easily monetized, right? Because you would have got a new tree of ships and it would have just been in the game, go grind it, right? And granted, you can push it through, like you say, with the free XP thing. You could pay to push it through, fine. But traditionally, you could just play for free and then you could get through, right? But now that's basically, oh, hey, you could have the new toy, the new shiny toy in the tech tree, and I can save you all this time not to grind it if you whack dubs at it in these random bundles. And again, the random bundles are designed to make you overspend, right? They're there to make you spend more than what the ship is actually worth in value, whether that be the credit value or the dub value in the case of premiums. It's monetization of core free features. That's what it is when you're engaging with that early access stuff. As I say, I understand why early access exists in other games. Fine, and there is risk associated with that. But when you're taking something like the ships that are traditionally free, and they've just found another way to jam money out of people. Really, that's what it boils down to. I get that with a lot of these things, you can earn X amount of currency for free, and therefore you can get a certain number of them. Typically, the bottom 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's good. That's good because people are playing and engaging, and it gives them lots of test data on how ships are performing and new stuff is working with a variety of different players, right? And that in itself is really good for the game. But yeah, they've got a formula for something that was effectively free and is it'd be like me going and taking the game and saying, oh, the login feature is now you have to pay. You want to go to your inventory? No, this is like the really extreme version. Obviously no one's ever going to do that. It'd be insane. But you want to access your inventory? 100 dubs, please. You want to access your clan? 100 dubs. But that's like the really extreme end of it. Do you know what I mean? It's taking something that's inherently free and core to the game, and the thing is, free to play games as well. They live and die on their content updates, right? That's a pretty flat fact, right? Because they got to keep you engaged and keep you coming back. But what they've done is they've taken that and then they've just gone, oh, by the way, we're going to tack a price tag onto that now. Do you see what I mean? So they're stripping away what was the core free content and putting basically it'd be like them putting a battle pass on everything. This is kind of like them putting a subscription model on it. Does that make sense? It's just they've gone about it in a really roundabout fashion. If that makes sense.
I mean,
rather than saying, hey, I need $5 for you to engage in this, and I'd far rather they actually did a battle pass or a subscription. Do you know what I mean? For like, hey, there's this early access event. You can get stuff, you got to grind it, but you got to pay a $5 or a 10 for like both halves. Maybe like the bottom tiers are the $5 and then you just work through. I don't object to that so much, but the second the randomness comes into it, which is exploitative and designed to upsell you to the nth degree because the psychology behind it, and like I say, taking a core thing that as I say, it's the free content that is supposed to reinvigorate the user base on a consistent basis and finding a way to monetize it in quite an aggressive fashion. I don't really like that. As I say, I could be a little bit more understanding if they treat it more like an expansion pack. But to do it in the way they're doing it, it is not cost effective to the end user, and it's it's taking what is core audience reinvigoration content and it's pushing it in. You don't have to engage with it. This is the thing. There is a choice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people just want the shiny latest thing, and but they're playing on that, right?
Yeah.
And if I kind of feel like if you've got to the point where you've got to take the core element of the game and the core free updates and monetize it, then you've probably got some issues with either the way you're monetizing the game or you're just trying to have your cake and eat it, if that makes sense. And I feel like wargaming is well in the cake and want to eat it scenario, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just what else can we eke out, And as I say, there's a line to be drawn, and I think they've well and truly crossed it at this stage.
It's really sad because let's look at the Christmas containers.
Oh God!
Right, I know, right? But were you playing during the first one?
I've been playing since June last year.
Right. Okay, so
I've not been on the game long at all.
No, that's cool. So during the first Christmas containers, right? I'll be honest, I bought 5 to start with, and I got 2 tier 8 boats, and they were good tier 8 boats, and I was like, holy fuck. Right? So yeah, they got me. I bought like 30, 40 containers, right? But I wasn't upset about it because I felt like I got more than 40 containers worth of value, right?
Okay, but that's good.
I got like half a dozen ships, a heap of coal, flags, free XP, all of that wonderful stuff. I thought, fuck, I'm going to save up all throughout the year and I'm going to really whale it next year, right? And then the next year it was a bit worse. I wasn't getting so many boats, and I was like, oh, this is a bit sad. Then the next year it got worse, and then we have the Christmas of the Makarov. And I was like, what? They fucked up a really awesome, niche little event. It was really sad because I would look forward to Christmas. I was like, fuck yeah, I can't wait to spend money.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. Especially given there's a lot of ships in there you can't get. So your only method to get them is that.
Look, I won't name any names.
But they're playing on that.
I won't name any names, but if he's watching, he knows who he is. I know a guy who spent $30,000 last year's Christmas event.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
But that's their choice. That's what they want to do. That's
it's crazy.
Perfectly within their right. But, But yeah, the problem with the the Christmas event is obviously it's how heavily it's skewed towards the lower tiers. So anybody that hasn't got a very full inventory is going to get stuffed. Those
Yeah.
players are typically going to be the less experienced and the ones that haven't been around very long. So they're going to be less knowledgeable and not understand how these things work. So they're effectively easy prey, right? Oh, I'll buy a bunch of boxes, or they'll be easily pleased by a lower tier ship because they haven't got as far in the game. Do you know what I mean? A tier 6, if you've only got tier 4s, for example, seems a lot more attractive, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, but it's the lack of odds disclosure, really. I as I say, I think boxes, even free ones, have got a lot of inherent issues in the way that they normalize things and set you up to engage with behaviors that become, do you know what I mean? They become habit and normalized, and this is what sets people up for gambling issues, and it can be very predatory in games. So I don't disagree with the Christmas event, and I think it's quite fun in a lot of ways, because I mean I got some ships out of it. I got a very mixed bag though. Would I do it again? No. In hindsight, no. I kind of just got wrapped up in the, ooh, this is the new shiny thing, what's going on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's the first Christmas event I'd seen. I was like, okay, let's have a look at it. But I, as I say, I think the Christmas event can be good. It's just, yeah, it's the way it's stacked and what's on offer and how it's constructed that's the problem.
Look,
And
I think
bet I would love to see the odds disclosure for those boxes. That's what I
that was
really would love
exactly
to
what I was
see.
going to say. Honestly, I would be more happy if they wanted to make the Christmas boxes more expensive, but go back to like the first year's odds and release those odds. I'd be okay with that.
I have no idea what the odds are. This is the problem, and nobody does.
How
I
fucking
can
terrible.
I can only imagine they're in line with the industry standard.
Wow, I mean,
But
maybe.
if you know, if that, I don't know. This is the thing.
Yeah.
They have that information. They have that data. They just don't want to share it because studies show that people will be less willing to engage when they actually see the odds laid out in numbers. And to that, there, it doesn't monetarily benefit them to do it. So until it's compulsory, they're not going to do it. Now, they have made a statement recently to the effect of next year we are going to do odds disclosure.
Good.
They could do it next week if they wanted to, but they're trying to stall people. That's what it is. They could do it like that if they wanted to, and they already do it for Legends because they have to on the Microsoft Store. The odds are disclosed on there.
Are they good?
They can do it. They just don't want to. So this is a token gesture. This is what I mean by like PR fluff that they've put out recently. They can do that at a drop of a hat. They just don't want to because they know it's not in their interest, in my opinion, right? I'm just going to strictly say that's my opinion, but I believe they're capable of doing it within a week or two. They could have that up there. It's just not in their interest financially to do so. So what's the best way to keep the community happy? Make a concession that you will do it eventually. By which point all the noise is blown over and some people will be persuaded that that's enough and they're being the good guys and they've changed or whatever you want to describe it as. But no, they're stalling because it'll just quell the fire and it'll be a non-issue. And yeah, my guess is they'll either go back on it or conveniently forget about it next year. Because it'll have, it's been so long, who's going to dig that forum post out, right? Or they'll do it, but they'll do it like they might go, oh, we need another 6 months. There's so many boxes we have to go through. It's like, no, you have all this information. Like before you, like in development, and when they're like they have all this structured out. This is they can literally pull this data like that. They don't need time at all, and they have to write the descriptions for the boxes and everything else. It should just go in there, copy paste. But as I say, this is it's not convenient for them kind of thing. Not a oh, we can't do it because we haven't got an intern to put on it problem. Yeah, because that's all it needs really. They just need one person with access to the database of this is what the odds are for all of this, and it didn't take long. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not in their interest. This is why, so they'll stall it out as long as they can. It'll be interesting to see if there's any legal changes in a lot of countries with this, and there are a lot of countries mobilizing to do something about boxes. The UK has got another petition now to force loot boxes into gambling, to have it re-reviewed because it kind of got dropped off the radar. after the surprise mechanic debate with EA that they had, which was quite fun to watch with some popcorn, to see them squirm. But yeah, that all kind of got dropped out. But there's now another petition to do that again. So hopefully something will come from that. And yeah, there's some other countries, pardon me, that I believe are kind of going in a similar kind of vein.
Yeah.
To re-examine it.
Do you know what I love hearing? Do you know what I love hearing?
Yeah.
I love hearing people say, "But children play this game. 7-year-olds play this game." I've never.
It's true though. They do in this game.
I've never met a 7-year-old in this game.
I've met quite a few.
Really?
Yeah, I know people that let their children on the game on their account. Now they shouldn't be account sharing, but it does go on. No, it's against the TOS for the game.
It's a bad.
But
it's a bad thing.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. The flat out, it's clearly in the rules. You're not allowed to account share, even if it's your own kid. But there are children that play this game. I've actually had to ban people from my clan because I found out they were children.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they came on my Discord and they were really blatantly children. Too young to even be on Discord. So I know children play this game, and I know parents who let their kids on their accounts.
Yeah.
So it does go on. Granted, I agree with the sentiment. It's probably not a huge proportion of their population. I think their average consumer age is in the 40s, 45, something
crazy like that. Yeah.
It's because it's mostly veterans. That's why.
Yeah.
That's what pushes it up, because you get a lot of the current military and ex-military lot, and that massively ramps up. Because it's also more of a niche interest area in gaming. You'll find that strategy games and stuff like that, war games, typically have a higher age demographic that are interested in them anyway.
It's because it's more complicated.
It just appeals more to that age bracket and demographic, really. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with that. But it does skew the demographics. So are the majority of wargaming's user-based kids? No. That's a fair statement to make. But do kids play this game? Absolutely. There's definitely kids that play this game. And the game has a PEGI 7 and an ESRB teen as their ratings. Now, the game doesn't depict gore or violence in a way that would, mean that the rating should be higher.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And that's a statement I believe Wargaming has made as to why their rating is so low. The problem is their monetization over the years has changed to include a mechanic that is inherent with casinos. And that should be 18 plus, because if you mark it, if I took a child, obviously this is a theoretical, if you took a child and you put them in a casino, right, that person would be in deep doo-doo, wouldn't they, for doing that? Let's be real, right? So effectively Wargaming is doing that. That's essentially what's going on, right? They're taking, regardless if it's one kid or 10 or 100 or whatever, right? The fact that because the product rating is low, a parent might let their kid have access to the game on that grounds, right? Or a kid goes, well, I'm 8 and it's rated 7, so I'm going to log into this. Granted, there's the element of parents need to parent. That's not Wargaming's problem. Just as a streamer, it's not my responsibility to babysit someone's children. I swear I make that really abundantly clear on my streams. And if someone lets their kid watch it, that's their problem, not mine. My content is very clearly labeled. But that's the thing. My content is clearly labeled. Wargaming is incorrectly labeled, and this is where the problem lies, right? The rating should correctly reflect the age that somebody should be experiencing or seeing that content. And as it currently stands, with the way the monetization is, in my opinion, that is incorrect. A 7-year-old rating is not correct for that product. It contains a mechanic that is legally, under any other circumstance, restricted to 18 plus in most countries. Granted, not all. Some it's 16, some it's even higher. But the rating should reflect that. If that's what they want to have in their game, fine, they're entitled to. They can do that. That's perfectly legal, right? But the access cutoff should be, it should reflect the legal requirement for it in any other setting.
Yeah, I'm really glad you disclaimed that with theoretically, because tomorrow morning you wake up, breaking news, Charade takes child into casino.
Yeah, well, I never do that, obviously, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to take it take this into any other context. Would it be legal? No. And there's no other instance you can think of where it would be legal to take a minor and put them in that situation. It's just you'd be deemed irresponsible and have the kid taken off you. It's just, do you know what I mean?
It's
So
horrendous.
I know, as I say, parents got a parent. Don't get me wrong, but and I think as well, even with the kids, it is predominantly teenagers. I think of the people that are under 18, it is mostly like your 15, your 16-year-olds. I think, as far as I can tell. But there are like some super little kids that are playing it, and as I say, I just think the rating needs to change. And they made a statement saying that they're going to go up to Peggy 12, and they voluntarily put a request in to have it upgraded. I'm sorry, but Peggy 12 does not address the issue. If gambling was a 12 plus thing, then yeah, sure, but it's not. You're still advertising to 12 to 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
For which gambling is 12 to 17, where it's illegal to gamble. So that doesn't sort the problem out. So no, if this gets re-rated, it should be an 18. There's no debate in my head. It needs to be an 18, or they have to change the way that they monetize their game if they want to keep their rating. Again, it reads as PR fluff, basically, that, we've made a small concession and we've taken a step to have it re-rated. But they're going to do everything they can to ensure it doesn't get an 18 because they want it on the Microsoft Store. They want it on. They don't want blocks in place because they know Steam accounts and Microsoft. Do you know what I mean? There's age gating that can be done on accounts, and parents will use them. Granted, not enough parents use it, but it will lock them off from customer acquisition. And also when they're advertising as well, they'd have to, I think in a lot of places like Google Ads and that, you'd have to advertise it as an 18 plus advert.
Yep.
Bit like alcohol or cigarettes, right? So that will have implications on the reach of their adverts, right? It's a higher barrier to entry and a higher cost for them to acquire customers, which is not in their interests.
I think because World of Warships isn't a gambling game, right? It has a very strong gambling component, but that component is what? 10% at the absolute extreme most, right?
I'd argue it's more than that.
Yeah, but if you watch their latest World of Warships, the Thinking Man's Action Game trailer, can you point to any portion of gambling in that trailer?
The thing is, though, right, the trailer, in my opinion, means jack shit. And you know why? Because you can have I mean, take E3, for example, you have a pre-rendered trailer for something. It doesn't necessarily reflect the end product. It doesn't reflect what you're necessarily going to engage with every day.
Yeah.
So I would argue the argument that, it's not in the trailer means it doesn't exist.
No.
It's not a valid argument.
But what I'm saying is the game... No, go on. That's okay.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, for example, there was a game, I think it was NBA recently or something, had literally nothing but casino stuff. It's a sports game, but it was nothing but casino stuff in there. So you could have the flip opposite, right? You've got a sports game that is basically a casino. I'm pretty sure it was NBA. I can't remember. But so you can have a trailer that's just completely focused on gambling mechanics, but it's a sports game, right? And then you can have something like a naval action game that's got gambling in it, but they focus on the warfare in their trailer. But it doesn't mean that mechanic doesn't exist, if that makes sense. It's there, but they're just not advertising it.
But it's such a non-factor, though. Like it's not a it's not a non-factor. But what I mean is you log into game right now, press battle, and point out the gambling. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can completely avoid it if you want to. Like,
I'd argue you can't to some extent.
How so?
And you know why? Because of the free gambling.
The free gambling?
The free gambling.
Oh yeah, the 3 containers every day.
Yep.
I fucking
and then you also get collection boxes. And there's tons of stuff that's got RNG box. The thing is, it normalizes the premium boxes and the paid content because you experience them on a day-to-day basis. You get the buzz and the euphoria of getting free stuff and like coal, for example, or whatever, out of them, or signals. It's designed to, and also like the daily login thing that they're doing at the moment where it stacks across for a whole month. That's doing that, and you get a container right at the end of it. It's normalization, and it's also taking people that wouldn't engage with those kind of things and then giving them a way to engage with it that has a lower barrier to entry because there's no cost associated with it. It's normalization, and it creates repetitive behavior patterns. And by creating those behavior patterns, you're more likely to then go on to buy or to choose the random option over the straight up purchase option, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you've become so accustomed to it. So to say that you can avoid the gambling entirely, I mean, yeah, technically, if you never open boxes and you completely avoid a lot of the events that they run, sure. But the thing is, there are people that deliberately log in just to get their daily boxes. There are people that want all the collections and they have to go through the randomness to get it. If you want to get coal in an efficient manner, you need your daily boxes and you need to go down the resource box route, right? You need to engage with the Christmas event for the snowflake stuff, for extra steel and coal, etc. Also, there's boxes for the tea. Do you see what I mean? So there's lots of ways you can get free boxes, but they're not there just to be cute, right? They're not there just to be your friend. They're there to kind of be a precursor to set you up to normalize, right? And this is why I can see why people say, "Oh, it's free. It doesn't matter. You're not good at." But the information shows that if you have those free versions in games, you will more readily engage with the premium version. Effectively, that's why they're there, right? So to say you can avoid gambling entirely, I don't think is a completely true statement. You could technically if you stay away from all the free stuff. But who doesn't want free stuff, right?
Yeah, but then it's pushing up against your definition of gambling. My definition of gambling is I'm giving money to potentially get more money back or value back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think this is where we differ in opinion.
And that's cool.
And that's fine. Yeah. I would just argue that I would argue there is an element of, you know what I mean? Like if you need to put something in to get it out, right?
Yeah.
But I would argue you're gambling your time rather than your money in that instance. Like the daily boxes, you've got to grind, right? It's not much grind, but you still need to take your time and you're exchanging it for some random goods. And you will either be happy or disappointed with what you get, right? So you're effectively giving your time. You're also behaviorally giving yourself over to the mechanics. And that will lead to an inevitable investment in a paid version of that product. Not in all cases, but in some. And that's what they're banking on, effectively. It's this normalization that I've got the problem with. So, yes, I see your point. I mean, a good example of this is CSGO boxes, right? Like, you put
don't,
money
please.
and you hope no, but it's a good comparative, right?
Yeah, it's
but
fantastic.
you expect you're hoping for that knife or that glove or whatever, right? To get the high value, high ticket item. So you can either sell it or you can show it off, right? Yeah. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but as I say, I think the investment comes from other areas. It's either you acquired the box through a grind and you're hoping for a big win, or like you try to get your wins from the Santa event to get your big tier 10 box. Do you know what I mean? The hope you'll get something good. You're wagering your time, effectively, is what I'd argue. But in wagering your time, you're setting yourself up behaviorally to be more likely to hand over money. And that's where that's quite insidious, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's free gambling, but it's gambling intended to set you up for the paid version, if that makes sense. And that's why I take issue with it.
Yeah.
Because there is a behavioral outcome and a concept. You're being trained. Look at it as like Pavlov dog kind of scenario, right? You hear the bell, you expect food.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's doing. If you really want to boil it down and simplify it, that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
You know, I log in, I win X amount of matches, or I get X amount of XP, I will get the treat. I'll get the reward. What it will be, I don't know, because it's in a box and it's completely random. Right?
Well, I mean, for those of us who are trying to hoard coal, right? The good thing is, right? If you can do the maths, if you can do basic year 5 level maths, you can work out that the maximum coal you can get from those boxes and the missions is $2,000, right? I think the most is like 4, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nice to take solace in the fact that you can go, well, I'm going to get between 2,000 and 4 or 5, right? But I think anyone that takes those try your luck containers is the biggest, like, unless you've got everything in the game. Kids, if you're watching, just press more resources, please. Porky's advice for the day.
There are a lot of people that do hedge their bet, though, on the other ones. Yeah, I mean, I've always advocated for the resource ones. I think they're better, especially if you haven't got much in your account, but it's people's discretion at the end of the day. But, yeah, again, it's kind of the buzz. Do you know what I mean? It's setting people up for, there's that chance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why this is quite insidious and predatory, because it's playing on the what if. Do you know what I mean? The FOMO. I could have this. I could have immediate gratification. Unfortunately, it will cost you more, effectively, because it'll be a lot more boxes to get the same amount of stuff.
Yeah.
If you go down that route, it's packaged in a way to kind of entice you towards, and you don't have to do it, but it's all about self-control at the end of the day, impulse control, right? And we do live very much in a society that wants immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Doesn't want hard work. And at the end of the day, for games, a lot of people, it's their chill thing.
Yeah,
They don't want to have to work at it. I mean, I there's obviously a section of the community that wants to work at getting good, gameplay wise, or getting all the stuff, whatever, and doing things that aren't easy. But for a lot of people, it's like they work, they come home, they just want to unwind, and having an efficient path to get everything is really, really important to them, because they either don't have the time to commit to it, or they want to say they just want to get the stuff, do you know what I mean, and be able to play around with it, but they just don't have the time for it necessarily. So there is this temptation to kind of take that risk,
Yeah.
For me, it's the opposite. I'd rather play it safe, personally. I look at it long game wise. Do you know what I mean? I know if I take the resource thing, I'm gonna end up better off in the long run. But a lot of people don't think like that. They don't think it through.
Silly.
And they get duped.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we've talked about the reasons wargaming is shit for too long. So let's talk about the reasons Charade's fantastic. Charade, tell us about yourself, man. It's been like 50 minutes. People are like, who the fuck's this Charade person? Why should we listen to her?
I don't even know where to start, man.
Where'd you start? Why'd you start streaming? Tell us about that.
I started in 2012, so I'm basically a dinosaur on Twitch at this stage.
Whoa.
I was stressed out one night because of exams. I couldn't sleep while I was at uni, and I went on Twitch because I was bored, stressed out, being sick, and I couldn't just settle down because I was just too stressed out about the exams the next day. So I went and watched a bunch of Minecraft streamers, and I found one guy called Sai and his wife, and they kept me distracted all night, basically, so that I stopped vomiting my guts up, and I got through the exams thanks to just chilling out and watching them. And I wanted to repay the favor, really, so I worked out, downloaded like XSplit, and just I was playing on their server. I was building stuff for them on their server just for fun. And I was like, you know what, I'll go live and I'll just stream me building on their server, and then I'll just be like, hey guys, go check out so and so, like they're really cool. Just as a little way just to say thank you to them, because Twitch was a tiny platform back then, and I just, even if I could get like a couple of people to go see them, it was just a small way to say thank you for free. It was just something I could do, and I found that in building stuff and in hanging out on the server and meeting people on Twitch, I really enjoyed it, and I just kept streaming from there, really. So what was effectively a gesture to help someone else out turned into my hobby. Dude, technically my job now.
That's wholesome.
But I just wanted to help him, because he didn't really need the help, because he was doing great anyway, but I just felt that was like the least I could do other than saying thank you. And in doing so, I found a hobby I really love, so win-win, right?
Exactly right.
But I just stuck at it ever since. I've had breaks, don't get me wrong. I had internet issues in 2015, so because I moved home from uni, so I had to take a prolonged break. But that's just kind of what made me take a dip into streaming and give it a try. And I just found something I really liked out of it, effectively. And I did Minecraft up until, I was streaming till 2015. Then I had the ISP problem. I was doing Minecraft all the way up to that point, and then horror specials. And then I had several years where I couldn't do anything because of IRL and ISP still being a problem. And I had a couple of phases where I came back and played like 2 Point Hospital and Prison Architect and all sorts of random silly stuff like Ark, and just fun, really, ad hoc between jobs. And then officially I came back last year, like full-time streaming. So I just kicked it into gear, I'd say around June, July last year, and just not looked back.
Yeah.
and just started playing Warships. I found it because of the Warhammer 40k collab, because my partner spotted it on Steam.
Oh yeah.
And I knew about Warships, I just hadn't really considered picking it up and giving it a try. And I wish I had sooner, but yeah, I just got playing it off the back of that, really, and I really liked the community, and I met a bunch of, I mean, I went onto the developer stream, and Conway said hi to me, and very helpful. I don't seriously, it was like literally just randomly happened one day, and then I started watching like Chaos Machine and TC and a bunch of other people, and yeah, I just really liked the community. It was just really, really friendly and fun, and everybody was very helpful. And I was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna stream this and have fun with it, and I'll
Yeah.
meet some people that I can play with, and that's kind of how it went, really. I just kept playing. I didn't stop. So that's why I ended up in Warship specifically and streaming it. Complete fluke, complete and utter fluke. But it happened. And I'm glad for it, because I say it's a good game. I'm just a bit annoyed with what's happened, obviously, with the publisher, but what'll be, it is what it is. But I wouldn't change it for the world, because I've met like some really, really nice people through it. Like people in my community, other streamers, random just gamers on the net that just kind of have a peripheral interest in Warships, and they'll play other stuff with me, and it's cool. It's really, really nice. Yeah, I guess that really kind of sums up how I ended up where I am now, but
it's fantastic. You just randomly decide, hey, what's this 40k Warships thing? Oh, that's that game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just really into Warhammer, and my partner's 40k nut, so yeah, we just like, hey, let's have a look at this,
That's crazy.
And yeah, that's all it took. And yeah, I just really enjoy it. I knew nothing about boats and ships prior to Warships. I really didn't.
I've been playing for like 5 or 6 years. I don't even really know what boats and ships are either. It's okay.
But yeah.
So yeah, you've been streaming for like a hot minute then. Like,
yeah, it's 10 years next Feb.
10 years.
Yeah, it'll be 10 years next Feb.
That is half my life. That is half my life.
It's almost the entire life of the platform, dude. That's a scary thing.
Dude.
I joined Twitch like 2-3 months, I think it was, after it started or something.
Oh my God.
I didn't stream immediately, but yeah. I got friends that were on Justin before Twitch even existed.
That's mental.
Yeah, some of them are still around. One of my moderators still.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's still around.
So
he's still around. He edits for me part-time. So,
really?
Yeah, he's been doing my Red Dead videos for me. But yeah, no, he's like old school Justin, like prior to Twitch even existing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. There's some people in my community have been around since like 2012, 2013. They still come in and say hi. I was talking with one guy on Twitter last night from like 2013.
Oh my God.
And he still keeps in touch. Yeah, it's crazy, but it happens. And I'm kind of lucky in that regard that people would be mad enough to stick around that long. And even if I'm playing something completely different, they're not interested in. Like, for example, that guy on Twitter, he just has no interest in Warships whatsoever. He's like just straight up Minecraft and nothing else. He still wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
I find it bizarre. I find it bizarre that people want to watch other people play video games when they can play video games.
I don't know. The thing is, I'm in two minds about that thing, because I can see why people would think that way, because you're not engaging with the content of the game. Yeah, you're not engaged with it directly, so you're not having influence over it. On the flip side, however, I think there's a lot of value in personality and a narrative that someone else can bring to it that might not necessarily align with what you might have done with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates a whole new experience and story through the way they choose to play and engage with it. And sometimes as well, like either like the skill cap on a game is too high, or as I say, you haven't got the time to invest in the whole game, so you just want to watch like a 10-minute thing that kind of Let's Play runs through, kind of like YouTube Let's Play style.
No.
That can be really convenient, right? So there's an element of that. Also, as well, if the barrier to entry on a game is very high price-wise, then, if you're being frugal, you might want to be like, ooh, I better check it out first before I decide to buy it or not. Or you might just be having a month where you're like, I can't buy like all 12 of these games I really want. I have to pick and choose. You pick and choose the other ones, and then you just go and watch the other one on YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah.
And then that way you still get to have like some idea of what goes on in it, So I think there's a lot of value that can come from that, from people that do let's plays and play stuff. And there's also the element as well, if a game's multiplayer, you want someone to play it with, so you can find a community that's established in it, decide whether you actually want to pick it up or not, and how the game plays, and then you've got immediately some people to jump in with, to either learn it with, get coached by, or whatever. And there's a lot of value in that as well. But yeah, if you're looking at it from the perspective of just strictly watching them, as I say, it could be it's a very narrative-driven game and they've got a different way of going about it. It could be that an individual's very skilled, like in a shooter or something, and you just don't have that ability level, but it's kind of almost like the fantasy. Do you know what I mean? You can live it through their eyes.
Vicariously.
So yeah, but
what a great word.
There's nothing wrong with that, like some people do that. Or or somebody's got like a specific style of humor or a take on something that you couldn't come up with, or you just like the way they interpret things. And so when you see them play that, you see that play out in the game, and you wouldn't otherwise get that experience. Yeah,
I'll be honest, since this podcast has like started to be a thing, all of my Twitch watching hours have like disappeared. I spend my time now talking to people to get them on the podcast. It's just hours of rejection.
Paperwork, man. I feel you want to add a podcast at one point myself, so
it's just hours of rejection.
The amount of planning that goes into it is it's a lot.
I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of planning. I literally in my head I have like a couple of things I want to talk about, and then we just talk. Just super chill. Like, you can say whatever. It's a podcast. You can do whatever you want. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I can say fuck on the internet and I don't get in trouble. Like, it's great. Probably shouldn't, but you do whatever you want. I'm a big proponent for things like that. Just do whatever. Like the last podcast I did with Wisconsin, we were supposed to talk about CVs for like an hour and a half. We ended up talking about the war in Afghanistan and like 9/11. Okay. Yeah, we just went down it. We just sent it. Yeah.
Random how things go sometimes.
Yeah, the train of thought.
Yeah, rabbit hole.
Yeah. So guys, Charade streams on Twitch. Do you upload on YouTube as well?
I do, yeah. I've got 2 YouTube channels, so I've got my main one. Yeah, it's a long story, but I've got the main one.
Yeah.
I upload on the main one every day.
Every day.
It's like mostly it's like matches, let's plays. I've got Red Dead going up on there at the moment.
I see.
And then like I've been doing like wargaming news, that kind of stuff as well. And I'm going back to my review series soon, which would be really nice. I've got like Gears 5 and a bunch of stuff going up in the not too distant future. The second channel is my Twitch archive. Right. So people were missing the streams because I used to stream late night American hours, but I do daytime UK, Europe hours these days. But there's some people that really wanted to engage still, so it gives them a option to go watch the streams. But in VOD format. Yeah. So if they've missed something, or if somebody's like sick for a week or whatever, they can come back and see the streams because I've only got affiliate at the moment. It only is up for 14 days, so it's another means that people can view the content. So I took the decision earlier this year to make a separate channel that just archived my Twitch effectively. So that's why that second channel exists, solely for that purpose. Well, links will be in description below. Do you have a Discord as well? Do you send that out to people? Do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's a community one. So we'll get that in the link. We'll get that down below as well. Yeah, guys, please go check out Charade. She's fantastic. The great, the powerful Charade. The massive derb. Also, guys, I do the thing on Twitch. I stream. I'm bad, and it's fine. I have fun. Charade, it's been an honest pleasure, man. This didn't go the way I thought it would, but it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. I love spirited debate. I'm all good for that. Yeah. It's just the way in which you talk about it. It's like the back and forward. Yeah, no one's butthurt. No one's got their feelings. No. Like, yeah. All right, guys. I will be back next week, I think, with a special guest. I'm not telling you who. It's a secret. Bye for now.